Back in December 2023, we received an early Christmas present when it was announced Parramatta Light Rail had started trial running in the middle of the night. And Backtracks made a video on that at the time. And 1 year later, this week, we also received an early Christmas present when it was announced with just 2 days' notice that Light Rail would start running for passengers on the 20th of December 2024. And these are the first trams to run in Parramatta for 80 years, since the Parramatta to Redbank Wharf line closed in March 1943. After watching the development of Parramatta's new light rail line and making a few YouTube videos on Parramatta's transport history, I couldn't miss the opportunity to ride on the first tram on opening day today. So that's the topic of today's video, opening day of the Parramatta Light Rail L4 line. I'm Marty and welcome to Backtracks. Parramatta in Western Sydney, Australia can now proudly say it's a city with trams. Again. Parramatta Light Rail Stage 1, the L4 line, connects Westmead to Carlingford via the Parramatta CBD with a two-way track spanning 12 kilometres and 16 light rail stops. It's taken 5 years of construction and it's part of a nearly $9 billion Australian dollar program. And the second line, once complete, will head east, connecting the Parramatta CBD to Sydney Olympic Park via Ermington and Wentworth Park. So just with a few days' notice, the government announced that 3 locations would have trams commencing at 5 a.m. Westmead and Carlingford, and they'd start at Parramatta at 5:02. And for no better reason, this is the end closest to where I live, I picked Carlingford for the location. I actually got to Carlingford much faster than I'd planned. It's amazing how quickly you can get across the city with no traffic. So instead, I first went to the light rail maintenance depot at Camellia, and I'm filming this at 4 a.m. on opening day. Better go off the road or I'm going to get run over. Well, here's a big moment. The opening, I guess, figuratively and literally, of Parramatta Light Rail. Get ready, people. When that light turns red and the T goes green, we've got the first tram for Parramatta's Light Rail leaving the depot. Thank you, truck. We're off and running. See you soon, tram. 2171. Let's remember if that's the one that I will see and ride in a moment in Carlingford. All right, I'm walking down now to Carlingford tram stop. I made it. Highly anticipated moment. Here it is. I've just made it in time. First tram coming in to Carlingford. Phew. Probably could have been a couple of minutes earlier, but I did get here. That's the tram we just saw. I mentioned there were 3 locations where trams would be starting on this first day of operation. But I picked Carlingford, as I said, partially because it's the closest to where I live, but also for me it's the most interesting part of the line because it replaces the Carlingford Railway line, which at the end of its life was operated by Sydney Trains as the T6 Carlingford line, running a shuttle between Clyde and Carlingford. The last trains ran on this line in early January 2020, and over the last 4 years, that rail corridor has been converted to light rail. So the doors closed and we were ready to leave. There was a short pause before we actually moved and a few jokes that we'd broken down already. But then it happened and we started to move and the first tram of the Parramatta Light Rail was off and running. If you've watched some of the previous videos, you know that this is actually the 4th time trams have ran in Parramatta. There was a line that ran from Parramatta West to Duck Creek, and there was a line that ran north to Castle Hill, Rogan's Hill, and then there was a third line that ran in Parramatta Park right up until 1993, which unfortunately closed after the depot burnt down.
Stop is Tanopia, followed by Dundas. Then all stops to Westmead via Parramatta Square.
After Carlingford came Talopia and then Dundas, which features a heritage railway building which was actually burnt down in 2006 but was reconstructed to the same design in 2007 and is now part of the new tram stop. Next is Yallamundi, which is sort of where the former Rydalmere railway station was, and then Rosehill Gardens, which was near the former Camellia railway station. From here we cross over the Bidgie Bridge, which traverses the very busy James Roos Drive, although not so much today. And on to Tramway Avenue, because that's where the tram once ran, and now we're basically entering the Parramatta CBD area with stations like Robin Thomas, and then we arrive at probably going to be the most popular of all the stations, Parramatta Square. And on this first tram ride today, I don't think many of the passengers were real passengers. Mostly it was full of railway enthusiasts, tram enthusiasts, YouTube bloggers like myself, media types and employees of the Transport for New South Wales organisation. Church Street or Eat Street is also going to be a popular spot, and from there you continue to head north past Riverside over the Parramatta River, and this is where a few months back they had one of the trams on display for an open day for Parramatta Light Rail. And I guess it's a good time to talk about why was the opening of this new light rail line so delayed. It was meant to open apparently in mid-2023, and then that was revised to mid-2024 after testing started at Christmas 2023. But problems with the battery operation, overhead wires and clearances on curves and at stations. It seemed like the opening may not happen until mid-2025. So I mentioned earlier, it was quite exciting to hear that it was actually going to open before Christmas 2024. And when we're at the end station later at Westmead, I could hear a lot of the Transport for New South Wales staff and what I also can only assume are contractors who built the light rail line. They were congratulating each other, saying things like, "We finally got there, well done." And that was a bit of the sentiment of a lot of the people riding today was, finally, it's open. So the opening of a new piece of transport infrastructure not only gets the public interested, but also news organisations. And there were plenty of those involved today at the opening. For example, standing next to Paul from Sydney Transport Vlogs, being interviewed live on ABC Sydney Radio as we rode the first tram. So we're coming to the end of the line here, passing through the Nagara stop and into the hospital district at Westmead. Then we come into the Children's Hospital, Westmead Hospital, and eventually end at Westmead train station. I jumped off and ran ahead to get the inaugural tram arriving at Westmead. Yes, I nearly killed myself. I need to be fitter. And there was quite a lot of excitement at this end because a lot of the media and news organisations were waiting for the tram to arrive. And also the Transport Minister, Joe Haylen. And although I couldn't get up close, I think also Howard Collins, the Coordinator General for Transport in New South Wales.
Good morning, customers. Thank you for being part of this journey, and we hope you have a great trip. Thank you and enjoy.
Well, the sun had basically come up at this stage, and there was a little bit more of a festive atmosphere at this end of the line. I think everyone had woken up a little more than when they were up at the Carlingford end. Sydney siders have basically waited 5 years for a brand new line to open after the opening of the L2 and L3 line way back in 2019. And both those lines had very controversial builds and very controversial starts. And this line has not been without its controversies, particularly on the impact on businesses within the Parramatta CBD, and also the very lengthy period it has taken to test and then open the line. Hopefully in a few years' time, people will forget all of this and just think what a great line this is. The same we think about the L2 and the L3 lines. And perhaps let's make a date for 5 years from now when hopefully we're riding the first trams on the new light rail line, Parramatta Light Rail Stage 2. Apparently, that will be delivered in stages, starting with the enabling works and the first 1.3 kilometres of new light rail alignment, including a 320-metre bridge over the Parramatta River between Wentworth Point and Melrose Park, not Melrose Place, as I often mistakenly say. But there is no completion date set for this line as yet. But let's worry about that another time. Let's just celebrate what happened today, the opening of the 4th light rail line in Sydney. I'm Marty. Thanks for watching Backtracks. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do if you want to. A quick story to finish. When I was a very young kid, my mother took me to the opening of the Eastern Suburbs Railway back in 1979. That was such a great experience for me. I've tried to get to other transport infrastructure openings ever since. My only regret is that I didn't think to film them, because I would have had a heap more Backtracks content than I do now. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on Backtracks.